It's Into the Spider-Verse with Dream Warriors, episode 112. That's right, everyone. We're talking about the lowest grossing Spider-Man movie ever today on Dream Warriors. Welcome back, and thank you for joining me. Happy New Year. I'm coming to you from January 2nd, 2019, and I love the sound of that. I am a huge fan of New Year's Eve. Why? Because I like hitting the reset button, establishing, writing new goals for myself, and moving forward. Hey, at one time, starting a podcast was one of my New Year goals, and here we go. I'm pretty sure I wrote that while I was on a beach in Key West. Back when I still wrote everything down in notebooks, but now I just use Trello on my Google Chrome because I just hate paper, even though I'm surrounded by paper. But hey, thank you for joining me. I'm Peter A. DeLuca, AKAPAD, your boy, your host, coming to you from AKAPad.com. And if you're new to Dream Warriors, we are a pop culture focused show, and we do movies, comics, TV, animation, wrestling, NFL, cats and dogs living together. Yeah, we do the whole sphere. And why? Because myself, your host, Peter, me, I'm eclectic, and I probably have the most severe case of ADD still deep into adulthood. There's too much that I'm interested in. Okay, just too much that I'm interested in to have this be like a narrow focus. But marching into this year, I kind of went through a phase where towards the end of the year, I wanted to rush and do like a Transformers episode, the 80s cartoon, Michael Bay movie franchise, because 2018 for me was a little bit of the year of the Transformer. Or the year of the Transformers, and I was going to go into very deep detail over that, and I didn't get to that episode, and I kind of was playing with the idea of like a year's best type thing, and that kind of bored me, and I backed away from that. And then I kind of realized that I was going to have to refocus and reshape some of Dream Warriors based on the last 4 months, like the last quarter of 2018. Gave me enough insight analytically to me to kind of to give me the idea to potentially do a themed month 12 months out of the year. And one of the ideas I'm playing with is like a Nicolas Cage month, for example, doing multiple horror movie months, and that comes right from in October. We do the 31 Days of Dread. It's one horror movie a day for the entire month of October in celebration of Halloween. And the analytics for that just go crazy. And it's not really so much of the like it being horror, I believe, even though I know horror is a factor. But it's regular. It's like, kind of like me doing something like on topic, digestible size episodes. And the only way for me to know if it's strictly horror or not is to counter that with another themed month. And so, like, what do? We try and look for what's popular. Nicolas Cage is a constant meme. From my point of view, and this is one of the Dream Warrior precepts, we are, we're almost like critics of the cynicism that's out there, the negativity that has infected film discussion, film review, film critics. We're not about the negativity, not saying that we don't call BS when movies are bad and disappointing. Today's movie, I'm looking at you. Yeah, that's right. Into the Spider-Verse was disappointing for me. That's a shock because people seem to be flipping their lids over Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I'm going to get a little deeper into that, but I'm on the minority on this one, and it very well could be that I'm just not into animated movies at this point in my life at all. I don't know, but moving on. So part of Dream Warriors is shaping. Now, I'm always in like a conflict with my contributors, with my Dream Warriors. And I think this is a good thing, okay? Because we're warriors. We should fight. We should be willing to fight. And, like I'll go on runs with either John. There's 2 separate marks. I have to get my sister back. And my sister, we've seen a few movies together that we easily could have spoken about. One of them was Creed 2 over Thanksgiving. That was a little bit tougher to do something about. I really feel like, we should have focused on doing something around the holiday, especially Creed, because seeing Rocky 4 with my sister is one of my all-time movie memories. My sister completely broke down and cried when Apollo Creed got killed by Ivan Drago in Rocky 4. It's a traumatic experience for my sister. I'm sure she's over it, but seeing the sequel to that movie on Thanksgiving with her and the family was magical for me. I'll never forget it. And what an arc. But yeah, so, like getting to the nitty gritty of, like growing Dream Warriors, making it into something. My contributors are a part of that growth, but they're only valuable to the Dream Warriors cause. And what is the Dream Warriors cause? What's the mission statement? I really have no clue. Hey, I just want to like sit down with people who know things and discuss movies and everything else with them. And I'd like to find what people are missing with a lot of these films. And there's so much noise out there that we're convinced that things are true that simply are not, just because they're easily Googleable. Like if you Google something, you get opinions, you accept it as truth. And this practice has destroyed, eroded, broken down film criticism to the point that it probably will never return. And Dream Warriors does have a mission statement. It's going to be that. But my contributors have to contribute, and it's not about I do too much work to keep Dream Warriors going. Going into 2019, it's full growth. But to grow Dream Warriors, I need my contributors to do more rather than just come here and sit down and discuss like what they're comfortable in discussing. If you go through the episodes, and we're nearly at 200 published pieces of content for Dream Warriors, it's very much of a life log for me. You see highs and lows. I go through things, and my contributors also go through things, and that's a part of the hook for the show. It's unpopular. It's somewhat of a new format for this type of podcast, but I love it. Like I love going into the life stuff, but you have to take yourself out of the comfort zone. Part of talking about your life and what you're going through is to rise up from it. And if you're not doing that, and if you're just using Dream Warriors as a way to sound sorry about yourself and not really pushing and growing, then the show's not doing anything for you. I use Dream Warriors to overcome so much. Hey, I talk about this openly and freely. Peter A. DeLuca, your boy, your host, I grew up with a speech impediment. I rode the short bus, okay? I went to multiple elementary schools because they didn't know what to do with me. I was classified special ed, despite, like having skill sets, art and drawing being one of them, being very social. But like they not being viewed as intelligent for whatever reason, it was pretty scary, and I say scary because to me, growing up with a speech impediment, you're immediately insecure. You're backed up against the wall. You don't feel good. You actually feel like garbage. You're an easy target. If you're growing up in South Jersey, you're such an easy target if you have any weakness. And you get picked apart, and you have to become tough. You have to become mentally tough. That means, hey, like sometimes you get like thrown up against the wall, you get intimidated, you get kind of like smacked and slapped, or if you're playing football with the neighborhood after school, you become the target. Okay, you become a little bit of the tackling dummy, and you have to take it and give it back out to stop it. Okay, so yeah, that's hard. Okay, it's not easy, but it toughens you up, and that's important because life is not fair. Life wants your blood. Life literally is Predator from Predator 1. Okay, it's even hunting Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you're not safe. You're not safe from the Predator / life. So anyway, so Dream Warriors definitely helped me just finally like put the final nail in the coffin in defining who I was to this world and what I could do. And at the very end of the day, if you don't like me, it's okay because I put everything I have out there, and you just don't like it. Then, like, not compatible. Moving on. When you know you've done that, okay, and you release yourselves of the fear and the doubt, you literally feel like you can do anything. And even for me, the last quarter of this year, I've done more drawing, because it took me the entire year to literally get back into drawing. I viewed at a semi, like, decently pro level. I would say but in today's standards, pro level, not not the standards 20 and 30 years ago. I would say even 15 years ago. Mark and I have a full contention, Mark the Merc. This is one of our contention points in repeated episodes of Dream Warriors. But yeah, so, like, I was just able to focus on so many of my, like, ending projects, okay? Like, I got more efficient in just shooting YouTube videos, just shooting them, okay? Not releasing them, but shooting them. So there's all these mechanisms that are on, like, all cylinders going into 2019, and like, I'm cycling here, and this is why 2019 is as significant and powerful of a year that it's going to be for me, because these goals that I'm setting, okay, and what I'm putting down in my Trello, because we don't do notebooks anymore, in my Trello on Google Chrome, is very simple. It's an extension of what started in 2018 and even 2017. I'm able to take that work and those ideas and those concepts a little bit further. And I'm telling you, your boy over here, I work a 9 to 5. It's somewhat demanding. Different hours, long hours, sometimes short hours. It's a 9 to 5 life that I lead, okay? But this other stuff, these other things that I'm working on, that is me. That is my destiny. And that's why I love the line in Infinity War when right before Thanos throws Gamora over the cliff to get the Soul Stone, that he tells her that he has to do it because he ignored his destiny once before. And what I'm doing in 2018, I truly feel like it's my destiny again. And I would connect that to 1997, 1998, 1999, like early 2000, Peter. Those 3 years when I graduated high school, and the creative flow and the output I had. At that point, I always said, I will always maintain this. And I thought I was. Maybe I was. I look back and I wasn't. But we're going to do it now. And again, anyone that is listening, okay, we have a lot of new listeners overseas. We're totally spiking on Spotify. But thank you so much, because it means literally a ton. And if I could reach out to all of you and hug you, I could. I can't. I can just talk to you. So here's an audio hug. Okay, enough of all that. Can we get to the movie? Into the Spider-Verse. A movie that I swore I would not see. I am very clear on not being a fan of Miles Morales. Not that I don't like the character. I really don't know too much about him. I know he comes from the Ultimate Universe. The Ultimate Universe was a offshoot Marvel experimental comic book line that boiled down the concepts of mostly Spider-Man and the X-Men. Fantastic launch. Those books were like some of the best on the market for a good 5-6 years. The best Spider-Man book was Ultimate Spider-Man for, like I said, up until issue maybe like 75. The Ultimate Venom, the take or the update on Venom, is the version that should be used moving forward. The movie kind of touched a little bit of it, but not so much. But so the universe that Miles Morales comes from, I'm a huge fan of. I like the idea that even in that universe, through the Ultimatum arc that kind of ended it, and they never recovered from Ultimatum. It was a 5-issue miniseries that kind of killed everyone. In some of them in the most like fantastic of fashion. I respected it for its grit. It's like it had balls. To me, it had gravitas. People hate that miniseries. It's drawn by David Finch. It's written by Jeff Loeb, who I love them both. Jeff Loeb is a very he panders to the artist. He knows kind of to let the artist do some things. So his stories can kind of stop sometimes because the artist just needs to shine. But he does inject good dialogue, ideas, and concepts as you turn the pages. That's why he's collaborated with so much of comics top talent, especially going into the mid 2000s. Oh, okay. But excuse me. But with that being said, they collapsed the Ultimate Universe, and Miles Morales went into Marvel proper, and we call that the Marvel 616. That would be our Earth in the Marvel Universe, and this began the fall of the Marvel creative and the editorial direction. And it's like, Pete, like how can that be? Like, it's just one thing. Well, what that allowed was that, not that there hasn't been like alternate versions of characters that crossed over. One of these characters that comes to mind is Dark Beast. It's coming over from Age of Apocalypse. A Blink also is a Age of Apocalypse crossover, and you're gonna have to look some of those up. Look, Dream Warriors would be 8 hours per episode if I went into every single thread here. But Age of Apocalypse was an alternate X-Men universe where Legion destroys the 616 reality and creates this alternate reality where Apocalypse actually took over the entire world. And they stopped all the X-Men books. They canceled all the X-Men books for about 5 months, nearly half a year. And did Age of Apocalypse, and it would just be it would be like issues 1 through 4, 1 through 5, and it was probably the all-time comic book event. I don't think anything like that will ever be topped, and it was fire, and all the ideas and the concepts. Some of the designs are very 90s, not carry over 90s, but just like they kind of only work in the 90s, so it does seem a little bit dated, and it is an era where the artwork was just overworked. I prefer it. I like it. I like the imperfections from that era, but hey, whatever, it's a different thing. So it's not that I'm a huge hater for Miles Morales. I feel like he has good stories out there, and these things, yes. And when it comes to Into the Spider-Verse, Miles Morales is our focus, but he does exist in the 616, which now, like, we have multiple Spider-Men, and I do feel like this pulls away from the significance of Spider-Man. I much rather, I would love it if Miles Morales became a different hero, had a different purpose, even had different powers because he comes from a different universe, a different dimension. Somehow things changed during the crossover. Making Miles significant rather than a copy of Peter Parker. And that's how he's portrayed into the Spider-Verse. He is strictly a copy of Peter Parker without the flaws. It's, to me, it's not interesting. What's interesting is the artistry of what's on screen, the animation, the colors. I thought this movie had fantastic texturing. It had like nearly like a dot matrix and like a line filter that was almost like a like blinds, like for a window, shaded blinds. And I thought it was cool, very stylized. I thought it worked. The animation for this works. The flow of the story works. But is it this thing? Is Into the Spider-Verse this magnifying event for Spider-Man? I really don't believe so. People are hung up on these other characters and these alternate versions. I'm not at all, because I'm confused. They all confuse me one by one because they're not. So I guess the idea would be like in alternate universes, Spider-Man has to exist. Okay, and so to get into the plot, is we have a Black Peter Parker, aka Miles Morales. He gets bitten by a spider, has a unique way of having that happen. And he gets mixed up in alternate versions of himself while trying to stop the Kingpin, who's like the crime lord of New York, from using this device to bring his family back from the dead, or to pull in an alternate version of his family into our reality, and in doing so creates multi-dimensional chaos. The plot for this movie is it's frighteningly complicated. It's hard. It's a hard sell. What's driving this movie right now is just like word of mouth and frenzy. And I honestly gotta feel like the average person, the average viewer, anyone outside the core of who this movie is made for, because they missed the mark, doesn't understand, and like they start to phase out as soon as you get into the plot. And this is the fundamental flaw of Into the Spider-Verse. The plot shouldn't be that complicated. It really shouldn't be hard to follow. It should never be hard to explain, especially when it comes to animation. And why? Because, and this is why we never compare animation and live action. I'll tell you why. You need to know why? I'll tell you why. Animation is controlled performances. You can get it perfect in animation. You do not even get close to a perfect performance in live action. You might get a couple scenes that sing, that have the praises, but no. It doesn't happen, okay? And why doesn't it happen? Because people are humans, and there's outside factors, and there's all of these combustible elements that pull actors out of the film that they're paid to perform in. And I'm sorry. So it's comparing the two. I think it's fun. I think you can put it into the category. And look, and I'm not. It's different with computer animation than cell animation, because it's much harder to control the performance in cell animation. The last minute decisions and nuances you can add throughout the entire process of computer animation far exceeds the capabilities of cell animation. But I'm old school. I prefer cell animation. I'm not a heathen here, but yeah. So when it comes to the characters in this movie, they work though. Like, we do maximize our time. It is a good course in storytelling when we have 3 minutes and we have to introduce rapid versions of one character and show you how they're all different, despite visually being different. And and that's how you ended up with the cast. You need a girl Spider-Man, you need a cartoony one, you need one visually black. This is easy to follow. They cherry picked the right things. They 100% did. There, you know, I guess part of my I'm just going through the like some of my thought process here. See, part of my take on this isn't really has nothing to do with the actual quality of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, because it is of certain quality and the storytelling is of a very high nature. It's well executed, but it's also too like we also have triple directors. We have three directors, all decorated through animation, either animation or writing. It's this pushback that I'm having of this being the end all be all Spider-Man movie, and the expectations of the core to the broader audience. And they're like, Pete, what the hell are you talking about? Okay, let me just tell you what some of the numbers here, because I think the people have spoken. Okay, when we talk about inflation, putting butts in seats, this is a long running through line. Okay, what we're seeing right now is a degradation of audiences into seats. Now, this is offset by two things: the value of the dollar and the price of the tickets. The value of the dollar is somewhat stabilized, but back in the day, you would get more bang for your buck. That's just inflation. The value of a dollar then versus the value of a dollar now. So movie tickets are just higher priced. Theaters are expanding into reserved seating with recliner seats, so we're getting less seats. But ticket prices are rising. And this is how the industry is stabilizing itself. So there's just less seats. There's less tickets sold. I always said, I don't know why we're obsessed with the money a movie makes. Because you have to have inflation. You have to adjust for inflation. Which means that no movie will ever like overcome Gone with the Wind ever, okay? Because that was like $500 million like domestic, never. But it should be. We should judge movies by butts and seats. How many tickets would it have sold? How many tickets has it sold? So year to year, it's less butts and seats. Even though Hollywood, because it's a business and there's very smart people behind what the business is doing, collectively, it still makes money and it still moves forward. But let's just go through this, okay? Because look, the diehards will tell you this is a great movie. It's a great success. 2002, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, unadjusted gross, $400 million. Okay, this movie. So we have $400 million. The last Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man 2, 2014, the Mark Webb, Andrew Garfield one, with Jamie Foxx as Electro, who I thought was awesome in that movie. I don't know. I just like his Electro because it reminds me of Jim Carrey's The Riddler. Into the Spider-Verse is at $104 million. Amazing Spider-Man 2, the movie that everyone hates from 2014, $202 million. We have $100 million difference between what people call one of the worst Spider-Man movies to compare to what people call as one of the best. And one of them pulls in children. Okay. Worldwide, unadjusted. Okay. Spider-Man 3, $554 million. People also call this one of the worst ones. Spider-Man Homecoming. I'm sorry. Spider-Man 3 worldwide, unadjusted, $890 million. Almost $900 million. Spider-Man Homecoming worldwide, $880. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse at number 7, $213 million. The closest other movie is the much hated Spider-Man 2 at 700 million. Are you following me here? Worldwide, the people have spoken. The people who this movie is made for have spoken. They do not like this movie. And it's not that it's not a good movie. It is. This movie is well thought out. It's executed. It has clear intent. But it's of a concept that is so inside baseball. It's so geek to geek. It's hard to explain it. What's the other issue? Let me address Venom. Venom could have been a merchandising boom. Venom could have brought back merchandising through film a way we have never seen. Because it hit at the right time. It's a concept people love. It's an anti-hero. It's more of an anti-hero than Deadpool. That's my phone. I'm going to be wrapping this up here soon. And they missed the mark with Venom around going into Halloween. No action figures, no merchandising, no Venom cereal. Into the Spider-Verse should have had a similar push. It should have been everywhere. We should have had, we should have been inundated with it. We should not have even known Aquaman or Bumblebee was out there. Because I do feel like, from a merchandising standpoint, you could have done a lot with this movie. Aquaman, that's tough. But Bumblebee should have kicked all their butts. Where was the merchandising for Bumblebee? The action figures are horrible. Everything should have been yellow for Bumblebee. So I don't know. This is how we don't get butts in seats, because we still have to reach people. We have to get somewhat in their way. I don't see Hollywood doing this anymore. I don't know what the long-term game is, unless they really have solid projections and predictions on what the bottom is for ticket pricing and how to remove butts in seats and what to do with the content later. Maybe there's visionaries that are calculating that within some of these studios, and they're making a collective decision. That would kind of make sense. But would I recommend Into the Spider-Verse? I 100% would, at home. I don't think this is a theater-going experience. The movie, a lot of the jokes didn't land. The ending is just like, it's just like a barrage. Like there were some things at stake. But yeah, I mean, like a lot of it to me was just like barrage. Very much like the Transformer movies. But the Transformer movies, 1, have models in them. 2, have cool looking cars. 3, amazing decapitation faces being ripped off robot action. Okay, and stakes that I can clearly follow or kind of zone out to. Into the Spider-Verse was successful in some of the stakes, but in all, I couldn't follow the logic of what the movie set out, what some of the rules were. Getting back into these alternate versions of Spider-Man, I'm still unclear, because to me an alternate version would be Peter Parker, just like Peter Parker, but this, just like Peter Parker, but that. These versions of Spider-Man are not just like Peter Parker, but they're just completely different characters that wear a Spider-Man looking costume and have similar powers outside of Spider-Man, Noir, which was just an offshoot, and that was insane that character even like showed up there. I think that is much more of a triumph than Peter Parker. But look, everyone, I do recommend this movie. Go check it out, but it can wait. It can wait. It's a good exercise in storytelling and character introduction, and that's about it. So hey, rock and roll, Dream Warriors 112. I love you all, and people, let's get ready for this new year. We got a lot going on.